Hey, janitor, I'll give you my Ferrari if you can start it. Ah ha ha ha.
The razor-edged voice of Sloane Parker ricocheted off the marble columns of the hall. Laughter, applause, flashes. The Peterson Automotive Museum gleamed like a temple to luxury. Under the lit steel curves of the building, the vivid red of a Ferrari 812 Superfast shone like liquid fire. Guests, men in tuxedos, women in evening gowns, flowed between champagne flutes and practiced smiles. The air smelled of expensive perfume and power. At the center of the room, Sloane Parker, 35, CEO of Parker Group, moved with decisive stride. White suit, hair in a flawless chignon, the stare of someone who has never asked permission. Executives and reporters vied for her attention, but Sloane seemed interested in only one thing, the Ferrari's red reflection under the lights. It was the jewel of the night, the symbol of her new partnership with Maranello. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, taking the mic, "this car represents perfection, like our company. No room for error, no weakness. But before we go on, tell us what city you're watching from. Follow our channel so you won't miss a single story. We're here to bring you drama that thrills and moments that soften your day. Like, comment and share to help us create more moving stories." Polite laughter followed her words, but at the back of the room there was a man who didn't laugh. He wore a janitor's uniform stained with oil. Big, cracked hands gripped a mop. His face, tired and bearded from a few days' growth, was unexpectedly handsome. Grey eyes, deep, as if the sound of wind lived inside them. Jack Lawson. No one recognized him. He cleaned in silence, trying to stay invisible, but when he saw the Ferrari, he stopped. His gaze went far away, as if he were seeing what others could not. He took one step closer, almost without realizing it. A red reflection crossed his face. "Hey!" a security guard barked. "Careful! Don't touch the car!" Jack stepped back, calm. "Sorry, just a second. It's beautiful." The words reached Sloane, who turned. She noted the clothes, the dirty skin, the humble posture. A thin smile curved her lips. "You like it, huh?" she said, voice sharp. "It costs more than you'll make in 10 lifetimes." People around her laughed. Jack lowered his eyes. "I don't doubt it," he said quietly, "but there's no price for the sound it makes when it breathes." A murmur. The line gave him away. Sloane arched a brow. "Oh, so you... What's your name?" "Jack." "Mr. Jack also knows engines?" Someone chuckled. She extended a hand toward the Ferrari, then met his eyes. "Pretty boy," she said with silky irony, "I'll give you my Ferrari if you can start it." Laughter exploded like applause. The marble floor seemed to vibrate. The Ferrari's red glowed under the chandeliers like liquid blood. Jack didn't move. Eyes down, hands tight on the mop handle, but a flash crossed his gaze, a memory, an engine, a track. The music cut out. Curiosity hushed the room. Jack lifted his eyes, slowly. "Starting a Ferrari," he said, voice rough but steady, "isn't about force. It's about respect." A ripple moved through the hall. Sloane laughed, but there was a quiver of doubt in it. "Perfect," she said, theatrically offering the keys. "Show us your respect, then." The keys hit the marble with a bright clink. Jack bent, picked them up gently. He looked at them for a beat, as if touching a relic. Then, without another word, he walked to the Ferrari, and that simple gesture silenced everyone. The hall froze. No one dared speak as Jack Lawson, keys between his fingers, approached the red Ferrari. Every step on marble sounded like a drumbeat. He didn't look like a man humiliated. He looked like someone coming home. A guest whispered, "He's crazy. He won't even know where to start." Sloane heard and chuckled softly. "Let him play. At least he'll give us a laugh." Jack opened the door with a movement precise, sure. The gesture of a man who's done it 100 times. The lights reflected in his grey eyes. He slid into the seat, set his hands on the wheel, and closed his eyes. 1 second, 2. Silence turning almost sacred. Leather, oil, gasoline. a scent that to him wasn't luxury, it was life. His fingertips passed over the dash, recognizing each command like a musician, knowing his notes. Sloane folded her arms. "What are you doing, napping?" Jack barely smiled, listening to see if she's ready to wake up. He pressed the start button. A low, deep roar cracked like a contained thunderclap. Walls trembled, chandeliers shivered. The Ferrari breathed. Alive. A cry of astonishment rippled across the room. The laughter died. Someone clapped on impulse, then stopped, embarrassed. Sloane went still. Her heart thumped hard, as if the engine's roar had punched through her chest. "Impossible," she whispered to herself. Jack opened his eyes. They were bright, but steady. He brushed the shifter, caressed the wheel, then killed the engine. Silence returned, thick as glass. He stepped out and walked toward her. He held the keys, but didn't return them. "You said you'd give it to me if I started it." His voice held no irony, only calm, and that calm was louder than any shout. Guests looked at one another, hanging between embarrassment and awe. A man in a glossy jacket murmured, "Who the hell is this guy?" Sloane laughed again, forced this time. Pure luck. A car like this doesn't start, it's programmed. He pressed a random button. Jack lifted his gaze and for the first time truly looked at her. A contact of a few seconds, so intense, she glanced away. "Cars aren't programmed," he said softly. "They're felt, and you have no idea what that means." His words fell like thin blades. Sloane said nothing. No one had ever spoken to her that way. A young tech edged closer, curious. "Excuse me, sir, how did you recognize the ignition system so fast?" Jack looked at him and smiled. "It's the new track-tuned model, right? V12 6.5 with multi-point injection. It's got a small cold sensor issue." The tech blanched. "But how do you know that? That mod is confidential." All eyes shifted to him. For a beat, Sloane lost her voice. "Who are you?" she asked at last, low and tense. Jack simply set the keys on the hood, just a man who mops floors. And he turned to go. But the silence he left behind wasn't indifference anymore. It was confused respect, curiosity, shame. Sloane stood frozen, watching the keys gleam on the hood like a wound. Slowly, she picked them up. For a moment the red reflection stained her fingers. She didn't know why, but her heart was beating too hard. And as Jack disappeared down the museum corridor, a voice inside her, the one she'd trained herself to ignore, whispered, "He wasn't just anyone." That night after the gala, Sloane couldn't sleep. The Ferrari's roar still throbbed in her ears like a heart refusing to stop. Sitting before the vast windows of her Beverly Hills penthouse, she stared at the glittering city, asking why a man like that had made her lose control. It wasn't just a moment of embarrassment. It felt like, for an instant, someone had truly seen her. Her phone buzzed on the table. She opened the venue's internal staffing portal, scrolled the list of temps from the event. There he was, Jack Lawson, age 40, part-time, facilities and cleaning services. Nothing else, no photo, no details, no past, but that last name, Lawson. A chill brushed her skin. It sounded familiar. She flipped open her laptop and tapped into her auto industry contacts. Typed, "Jack Lawson, Ferrari." For a moment, nothing. Then, all at once, old articles, photos, interviews. The prodigy of the track. The driver who knows no fear. Jack Lawson, Maranello's next big hope. In the images, the face was the same. Younger, brighter, smiling beside a red race car in a Ferrari suit. The name J. Lawson 21 stitched on it. Beside him, a blonde woman hugging him. Caption, "Jack Lawson and his wife, the love that outruns the wind." Sloane went still. She scrolled as if thumbing through a life she'd never imagined. Then she found the last headline, Tragedy in Modena. Wife of driver Jack Lawson killed in accident. Former rising star leaves racing and disappears from public view. A grainy photo showed Jack shattered before a burned-out car, the same eyes she'd seen hours earlier. Sloane snapped the laptop shut. Her hands were shaking. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar. Shame. Next morning, she rode the elevator down to her garage. Under the cold neon, the red Ferrari seemed asleep. She laid a hand on the hood. The metal was cold, but alive. "Who are you really, Jack Lawson?" she murmured. Then she did something she never did. She left the office early, grabbed her car, and went to find him. 2 days later, she found him in Boyle Heights, an old building, smell of damp, cracked windows. Jack came out with a bucket and broom, work uniform on. Rolled sleeves showed strong forearms, sun-marked. He looked surprised when he saw her. "Ms. Parker." "Call me Sloane." I'm working. If it's about the other night, you can talk to my supervisor." "That's not why I'm here." He eyed her warily. She hesitated, then said softly, "I looked up your name." Jack was silent. His grey eyes hardened. "You shouldn't have." "It was impossible not to. You were a Ferrari driver." "Was," he said. "I'm not anymore." "Why?" "Because the person I drove for is gone." His tone was dry but not cold. Pain thread through every word. Sloane didn't know what to say. For the first time she felt small before someone without power, but with greatness. "So why work as a janitor?" He gave half a smile. "Because you still have to live, even when you don't want to." She stared, disarmed. There was something hypnotic in his simple, deep way of speaking. It reminded her of her father, a mechanic before he became a businessman, a man who loved the sound of engines more than boardrooms. "I'm sorry about that night," she whispered, surprised to hear herself say it. "No need. It wasn't the first time people laughed at me. It should be the last." He looked at her, calm. "Why? You don't know me." "Maybe I want to." Silence. A small gust kicked the courtyard dust. For a second they looked at each other like two people who recognized the same kind of hurt from opposite worlds. Then Jack barely smiled. "You know what's strangest?" "What?" "When you handed me those keys, I felt my heart kick again, not for the car, for the challenge, and you somehow made me feel alive." Sloane said nothing. It was the first time anyone told her something that went beyond money, power, ambition. He lifted the bucket, turned, and went back to work. And as she watched him walk away, she understood that the man she had humiliated was now teaching her how to breathe. The days that followed, Sloane couldn't get him out of her mind. She kept seeing his gaze, the calm with which he shut the engine down, the dignity of someone who'd lost everything and still kept an intact soul. Late one night, back at the Parker Group offices in Century City, she saw him in the garage. Jack was crouched, cleaning oil stains under a sports car. Neon carved his profile, handsome, tired, real. "Jack," she called. "Ms. Parker." "Sloane," she corrected gently. "I told you. Call me Sloane. It's hard to first name someone who owns a $300,000 Ferrari. And yet you're the only one who made her purr." His first honest smile. Then she turned serious. "I spoke with a contact in Maranello. I watched your races. You were a champion." "Was. That life is over. Why live like you're already gone? Because sometimes life doesn't forgive whoever finishes first." Her chest tightened more than she wanted to admit. "You can't keep mopping floors," she said. "Come work with us. You know engines better than anyone on my team. I'm not looking for favors. It's not a favor, it's a chance." He studied her, searching for sincerity. There was no pity in her eyes, only respect. "I'll think about it," he said at last, wiping his hands. 2 weeks later, Jack walked through the glass lobby, uncertain steps, a clean but worn shirt. People stared. What's he doing here? Sloane led him into R&D. Welcome to where we build the future, she said, showing a powertrain disassembled on a steel bench. Every bolt is a secret. I want you to teach me to feel it the way you do. That can't be taught, he smiled. It's loved. They started working side by side, day after day. She, used to control and numbers, learned the silent language of engines through Jack's hands. He, who'd forgotten how to look ahead, found in her a humanity he thought he'd lost. One evening, alone in the lab, Neon washed over his hands, gripping a wrench. "See this screw?" Jack said. "Tighten it too much and you snap the piece. Leave it loose and the engine shakes itself apart. Perfection lives in balance." "Like between two people," she blurted, before she could stop herself. The silence that followed was sweet and taut. Jack looked at her, no longer the ICE CEO, but a flesh-and-blood woman. But the past returned like a shadow. At a press briefing, an exec flashed Jack's photo on a screen. "This man works here. He was a driver, and then a disaster, not the image we want." Sloane shot to her feet. "Enough! That man is worth more than all of you put together." Silence hit like a hard break. No one had ever heard her defend someone like that. When they were alone, Jack said, "You shouldn't have." "Oh yes, you taught me an engine, like a person, isn't judged by the grime on its surface." He took her hand instinctively, a simple gesture full of truth. "Careful, Sloane," he whispered. "Keep this up and you'll get your hands dirty." "What if that's the first right thing I've ever done?" They looked at each other in a silence that felt inevitable. That night, as they left the lab, rain began to fall. Jack shrugged off his jacket and set it over her shoulders. "You don't have to," she protested. "I do. Some rains wash more than they stain." They walked under the rain without a word. Both knew everything had changed. Weeks passed, and everyone got used to seeing Jack beside the CEO. He spoke little, but every word carried weight. When he explained a project, the engineers fell silent. No swagger, just experience and truth. One night, Sloane found him seated before a stripped engine. Light split his face, half shadow, half longing. "What are you still doing here?" Talking to him. To who? To my past. His hands moved over the metal as if it had a pulse. "For years I hated this sound, the roar. It reminded me of the night my wife died. She was driving, we argued, I let her go alone. I never set foot on a track again." Sloane stepped closer. "It wasn't your fault. Enough of it was to break my life." Silence. Only the rain ticking on the glass, the scent of oil in the air. She knelt beside him. "If you truly believe the engine is alive, maybe you should let it breathe again." He looked up, in his eyes a light he hadn't felt in years. "Maybe you're right, but I don't remember how." "Then we'll learn together." The test day came. Sloane arranged it in secret, far from the press. Dawn broke over Willow Springs International Raceway. Dew silvered the asphalt. The red Ferrari waited in pit lane, like an animal recognizing its master. Jack pulled on an old racing suit from storage. Logo faded, still alive. His hands shook, fastening the helmet. "I can't," he whispered. "Yes, you can," she said. "What if I can't do it?" "It doesn't matter, just try." He looked at her. He didn't see the CEO anymore. He saw a woman who believed in him. He climbed in, pressed start. The engine roared like an old lion waking. The sound ran through him, melting years of pain. He eased out, then faster, 1 lap, 2, 3. When he rolled back to the pits, tears streaked his face. He pulled off the helmet and met her eyes. 10 years since I last drove. And today, I drove for you." She didn't answer. She set her palm to his chest, feeling the hard beat under the suit. "Don't drive for me, Jack. Drive with me." He took her hand, fingers stained with oil and somehow tender. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. Days later, Jack returned as a technical consultant for Parker Group. The press found out, but this time Sloane hid nothing. To the cameras, she said, "This man taught me that greatness doesn't come from money, but from the courage to begin again." And when they asked who Jack Lawson was, she answered, "The man who reminded me what it means to feel." That night, leaving the lab, Sloane paused by the Ferrari. "She's still yours, you know." "Not anymore. She belongs to who makes her run, and let's drive her together." They climbed in, he at the wheel, she beside him. The engine roared under the stars. Jack smiled. "Ready?" "Always." They slipped into the night, the red bodywork reflecting on rain-slick Los Angeles streets. For the first time, Sloane felt no need to win, only to live. A few months later, autumn bronzed Los Angeles. Leaves fell slow, and the papers still talked about them. Ex-driver Jack Lawson returns to the track as head technical lead. CEO Sloane Parker launches social program for forgotten workers. But for them, the real news wasn't on front pages. It lived in the quiet of shop floor evenings, in the smell of metal and coffee, in smiles that needed no words. One afternoon, Sloane walked in to find Jack's sleeves rolled, tuning an old race engine. On the bench lay faded photos. Him, his wife, a small-town track. "I never know," she said softly, "if those memories make you smile or hurt." Jack set down the wrench, looked at her. "A little of both, but now it hurts less. You know why?" "Why?" "Because someone believed I could start over." She stepped closer. "And someone learned that power is worthless without a heart." They stood inches apart. No music, no crowd. Two real people who had stopped running. He brushed her cheek with rough, steady fingers. "When I drive, I still hear the wind talk to me. But since it doesn't talk about speed anymore. It talks about home. And where is home?" He met her eyes. "Here." He kissed her softly. Not a wild kiss, but a kiss of peace returned, of truth, forgiveness, and life coming back. Months later, Jack launched Hearts of Engine at Parker Group, a program to bring struggling mechanics and drivers back into dignified work. Sloane spoke about it in conferences with pride and gratitude. Whenever the press asked if she'd changed, she smiled. "Yes, I'd learned you can't buy dignity, and that true luxury is loving someone who isn't afraid to look inside you." Willow Springs, a year later. The red Ferrari flashes in the sun. Jack, suited up, checks the engine. Sloane, leather jacket on, watches with a smile. "Ready?" he asks. "Only if you take it slow," she teases. No promises. They get in together. The engine wakes. A deep roar fills the air. No longer pain, but life. As the car flies down the straight, Sloane rests her hand on Jack's arm. He looks over. In both their eyes, the same red sun glows. The past is still there, but it doesn't scare them, because now, together, they've learned to run in the same direction. There are loves born in silence, between a tear and a breath. Second chances that come when you stop believing you deserve them, and engines and hearts that never really stop. The Ferrari disappears into the sunset. Music rises. On the red hood, golden reflections dance like flames. And the audience knows this isn't just a love story. It's a lesson that even the one who lost everything can rise again, and that true love doesn't save you, it rebuilds you. If this story touched your heart, stay with us. Follow our channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories, tales filled with emotion, love, forgiveness, and real life. Give it a like, leave a comment, and share if you too believe that every heart deserves a second chance. Your voice helps us keep creating stories that move, inspire, and, most of all, make the soul beat.